Good day, everybody. Welcome back to RCL. This is our Season 10 B Division, and I am joined by our good friend, Mr. Lance, runner-up of the A Division of the previous season.
Thanks for having me here. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts about some of these teams and yeah, looking forward to a fun and hopefully competitive season. Well, easier for some teams than others. My team's a 40-point deficit, but
Yeah, so I'm
yeah,
gonna
it's
get
been
into
good
that
so far.
first, I think. So we have, like with last season, where we had Swellow down in the depths, impostering as we have the. Well, I didn't decide. I think bloody Davis set up a vote that it was going to be called impostering when an A Div player comes to B Div. So we have two imposters this season, as not where are you? Oh, there you are. As Seattle Supersonics is here, he has very harsh restrictions. Yeah, I'll just say them now. I was gonna say, do we want to go over them now or when we're up to you? But we'll go over them now. So we spun a wheel between 1 and 10 points, and whatever it landed on is what he had to choose, something from that tier. So in the end, his team is not good at all. And then there's Paris
Yeah,
Leafeons over
I
here. Mm.
I was hopefully optimistic when I had the restrictions, but yeah, once the point totals came out, I couldn't draft synergies. I just had to grab the best mons available per the
Genuinely,
point.
I think
So
you could have made a really solid Rain team, especially because you had so many 6 pointers and a lot of them really liked Rain.
yeah, Rain's kind of boring in my opinion, but
That's kind of fair.
yeah, you're not wrong with that.
Then there's also Paris Leafeons, who, due to his previous not good season, we shall say, has fairly light restrictions, especially in comparison. He was allowed two 15 pointers and free choice below. Um, it was probably a little bit too light to be frank, but oh well, it's fine. We're here. As well as where is he? Ty also ended up dropping from the previous season. So he's our new B-Div scrub. And Nonsensical Nidoran is our new player. Yes. I think that's about all the housekeeping stuff I have. Yep. We're going to be going through this in draft order, which is what you see here basically, from Nidoran to Landorus, then Leafeon down to Nosepass. And yeah. Alright, let's get into this, shall we? First up is
Yeah, let's do it.
Nidoran. Oh yeah, one other thing worth noting. So Lance's rankings are based purely off of team, where my ranking is based off team and player. So with Nidoran being our new player, I ranked her very low.
It
um,
does make a lot of sense.
yeah, but it's also one of those things where you don't know all the players as well as I do, so I think it was a good idea to have you just stick with based off teams as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Uh,
so I thought so. I helped her with this team as we go to the same uni and we're close and blah blah blah. Anyway, so I think we ended up making a pretty good team. She chose Palafin in as her lead key 19 pointer. And then by the time we went back as being first seed and then having 30 picks before you, there was not a lot of high tier mons that worked well with our team, and we ended up just going with the speedster in Cinderace as well as removal with treads. Um, I don't know why we grabbed Shaman before Altaria, but oh well. I like our speed tiers a lot. We have a lot of speedier guys. The gap between Uxie and Altaria is probably not the best, but oh well. We have pretty good defensive synergy for the most part, with only Flying and Ghost having a little bit less resistances, in my opinion. We like half our team gets knockoff as well as U-turn on like 4 Pokemon, so it's pretty solid all around, I think. Yeah.
yeah. All solid points. I'll give some of my background and theory behind how I rank these teams, and then I'll just
Yep.
give some of these previous recorded notes. So for a lot of people in draft and speed tiers are extremely important. I know Mez is a huge fan of speed tiers. And while I think speed tiers are important, most of the time I consider synergy way more important.
Mm-hmm.
So like you don't want a defensive Pokemon to have to play a defensive role every week. If you can bring it offense some weeks, then like it frees up building significantly. So I do agree these speed tiers are really solid for the team, and I also like, on a base note, Firewater, Grass Core.
Yeah, it's a good call.
Yeah. Some of the notes I wrote down about the Nidoran is Damon is one of my favorite semi-stall Pokemon, especially in this format.
Yeah, you brought it for A Division
The
last season,
ability,
right?
yeah, I brought it almost every game last season.
Yeah.
Before last season, I used it solely for defense because Rest Natural Cure guarantees you're at full when you switch out every turn.
That's true, yeah.
Uh,
Man,
yeah,
I'm not gonna
I'm
lie, I
a
never even
huge,
considered that.
yeah, Altaria, similar ability, but yeah, just obviously it gets Synthesis, which gives you half health, but Rest,
Yeah.
Natural Cure, switching out, Rocky Helmet, uh, people can't U-turn versus Stamen, even though it's super effective. Just really, really cool Pokemon.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh, couple other things I wrote down. One of the reasons this team was not higher on my list is Mega Altaria is a very tricky Mega Pokemon to use. So I drafted it in like a team. Well, it was like one, I forget what they're called, just some sort of tournament where it's single elimination.
Oh, yep.
It worked well in that, but yeah, it's just it has so many sets it can run, but it doesn't run any of them super well. So
Yeah, that's
Mega
fair.
Altaria has fallen off my huge like list.
Yeah, it's a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none. Like it's a little bit on the slower side, but it's like both defensively and offensively got like around 110-ish stats, which are all good. Obviously, it's actually kind of like Terapagos in that way, where it's all like 110-ish, defensively and offensively on both sides. With I think they actually both have 80 speed now that I think about it. Um, Altaria, of course,
Yeah,
has a better
yeah.
ability, not ability, a better typing than Terapagos, which is nice. And actually, what do you think? Do you think, what is it, Terra Shell is better than, Pixelate? I don't know, actually. I think it depends how you use it.
Uh, yeah, I'd say if Altaria had Mega Gardevoir's special attack stat, Pixelate would be better. But I think since Altaria is just kind of a mega, in my opinion, I'd say Terra Shell is probably better, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, I agree with you. Mega Altaria, one of the best dual typings in the game.
For
So I
sure.
wish it had better stats, but
Yeah,
still a really
it's
cool Pokemon.
yeah, it's a bit too much of an all-rounder probably, but it's something that I've never used before, and I thought, given its DD capabilities, it would be fairly useful for a new player to simply set up and go burr for the most part.
Yeah, yeah, totally understand that.
Anything else that you have for Nidoran's team?
No, really solid team. I think if couple transactions through the season, I think this could definitely be a scary team to face in the playoffs.
Mm, I will also make a note of Vespiquen because I've never even considered Vespiquen on a draft team. But when I realized this man had everything we wanted, I was in love. So someone we had a little bit of a ground weakness on our team, having only one immunity, one resistant, three weaknesses. I didn't really like that at the time, and our one immunity also gets rid of its flying typing. You know what I mean? So I wasn't a big fan of that. So we picked up, and we also wanted spikes. So trying to look for something that resisted or was immune to ground with spikes was kind of a challenge. That wasn't also just a dogshit 1-point mon, but finding Vespiquen, immunity to ground, spikes, fairly good defensive stats. It's like 102 defense and SPDF, which is like more than usable. It's also got toxic spikes, heal order. Like, it's surprisingly exactly what we needed, and I find that brilliant out of a 2-point mon.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I definitely think having toxic spikes against a team not prepared for it can completely turn the game in your favor. Spike support's great, but yeah, it's cool when you have a complete team and then you just need the finishing sauce, and then boom, the Pokemon just shows up. Always cool when that happens.
Absolutely. All right, shall we move on?
Yeah, let's go to number 2.
Number 2 up is Will. I always put Will at the bottom because he is trash. Goddamn.
He did perform pretty well last season though, didn't he?
He came 14th. Oh, you're thinking of Iron Will. There's
Oh,
Will, my brother, but there's
Will.
Iron Will, the British guy. So Iron Will did very good last season. Will, on the other hand, I think came like 15th. I think he was like second last.
Okay.
Yup.
Okay, I see.
So right off the bat, I will mention his first 3 picks he did himself before he got helped from, I believe he said it was Mez who helped him finish off the team. And I'm not going to lie, he made a pretty solid Sun team by the end of it. Having Torn, I think, is really dumb. It's fast, but it's more of a Rain team mon, not much of a Sun team mon. You can probably still make it work with like a more bulky knockoff U-turn kind of annoying set rather than just using like a strong set, if you know what I mean. Like you can definitely still use it defensively.
Agree with you there.
It also has like no priority. Like on the moves, I think it had like quick attack on Ogerpon, and I'm pretty sure that was it. Plus Smeargle doing whatever. Why is Smeargle here? Can somebody tell me that? I feel like I've never seen Smeargle in draft.
Smeargle was on my team planner. Did want to draft it since it's like Mew. It can do everything, but more importantly, it's just like one of the best suicide leads in the game. You just give it a focus sass, can spore, set up 2 hazards.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah, that's about all it can do, but it's still very, very good at what it does. A lot of OU teams used to use it in like the 1700s because it was one of the best suicide leads in the game.
Yeah, that makes sense. There was also, of course, fucking Smeargle Dark Void back in Gen 6 VGC as well.
Yeah, those were the days. People love VGC when Smeargle could guarantee put 2 wands to sleep, scarf, outspeed everything.
It's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
We'll also add that it's got fairly good hazard support. It has Torkoal with rocks, and then we've got Ogerpon, Sandy Shocks with spikes, as well as Smeargle can do every spike and every hazard, I think. Venusaur as well, I think, has toxic spikes still. They might have lost it.
Yeah, I'm not sure which, but yeah, if it does get it, it's an even better mon than it. But yeah, it's already kind of broken in draft, I think.
Yeah, as a Sun Sweeper, it's insane. It is also worth noting, defensively this team is fucked. It's got 1 Dark Resist, which is not good. It's got no Dragon Resist, which is terrible. Flying, it's got 1 Resist in, Sandy Shocks, which when it terrors, it removes. 1 Ghost Resist in Roaring Moon. I'm not counting Smeargle or Fuecoco. Yeah. hell, it's got no normal resists. Only resist to Psychic is Roaring Moon, which is immune. No rock resists. Like, just defensively, this team is all over the place.
Yeah, I do agree with it's not a very good defensive team, but I think it's also to remember certain builds need certain things to be successful, and they don't care about other things per se.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
generally, the Sun archetype,
Has always
their goal
been
is
hit
to,
hard and fast and loose.
yeah, you want your Pokemon to faint, so that way you get in another Pokemon without losing momentum. So
Yeah.
yeah, Sun generally. The biggest problem I saw with this team in particular, though, is like once you get Sun up with Torkoal, you're even with Heat Rock, a good player is going to have Rain or some way to get rid of Sun. You're not going to have enough Sun turns to have Roaring Moon sweep, have Venusaur sweep, have Govilian break, Sandy Shock. So, like, while
Yeah.
this is a pretty decent Sun archetype, in my opinion, it still has a few flaws, like too many sweepers and not enough other support for the main Sun sweepers, Venusaur and Roaring Moon, in my opinion.
Yeah, it definitely has simply a lot of. You get Sun up and then you try to bonk with many Pokemon. You have Ogerpon, Roaring Moon, Sandy Shocks, Scovillian, and Venusaur. They all just want to get in, get the boost from the sun, and kill everything they can, basically.
Yeah, most definitely.
But to be fair, that actually might be best for Will. He's not. As much as I love him, he's my brother. He's not good at strategy. So it honestly might be best for him to simply just get Sun up, go to a sweeper, and bonk as much as you can. Repeat the cycle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This team, if it's built well, I can't see it losing more than like 3-0 the worst week. Like, this team is very difficult to prep for, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I don't know Will well enough, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think we're ready to move on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Next up, we have Josh, one of our very best and brightest B Division players. I gave him first because he comes. I think in total he's come first in B Division. He came first in season 6, 7, and 8, I believe. I think in 9 he came second, but like in almost every season he's come first in that he's played, and then he normally just stumbles in finals. Unfortunately for him, you've also ranked him fairly high. I definitely like his team. Honestly, now that I'm looking at it a bit more, it kind of reminds me of a Gen 6 team with like Megamedi, Greninja, Registeel, Raikou, Swampert. Before a few of these guys got like power crept out of usability. You know what I mean?
Yeah, almost no new Pokemon, but yeah, a lot of these
it's
Pokemon
just like
were
Pekka
OU, I think.
Arboliva.
Even some of the Pokemon that were UU in Gen 6 still saw OU usage. Like, I lost to one team in like the 1700s who built all around UU. Registeel was on that team.
That's so cool.
But yeah, amazing Gen 6 team he drafted.
Yeah. It's unfortunate to say there is no Rapid Spin. Everyone knows that removal is important, but I will note that Rapid Spin is by far the better option than Defog because you also remove your own hazards, obviously. So while he does have removal, it's unfortunate to see that he has no removal that doesn't remove his own hazards. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The one thing I will say about Rapid Spin in this format is in A Division, almost every single team had a Ghost type.
Yeah, that's true.
So that made hazard control very difficult because there are very, very few viable defoggers. And, like, if you did want to spin, like, you'd have to risk giving your opponent a free turn. It just made it a little tricky, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And honestly, skimming through it, even in B Division, most players have a Ghost type at least. Yeah, just looks like there's 4 teams that don't have a Ghost type. So it is still the vast majority that do, you know? Yeah, looking like 4 or 5. Anyway, I will say I do love how fast this team is. Talonflame is always a really good speedster. Greninja with Battle Bond or Protein is really good, honestly. Raikou is my GOAT. It's like my favorite Gen 2 Pokemon, I think. I think stat-wise, it's kind of fallen off a little bit. Like 115 special attack, 115 speed, it just isn't what it used to be. It's still fast enough to be the fastest Pokemon, but it's also not great. I think if we allowed it to Terra, it would be a lot better with like Bolt Beam coverage. Yeah, but I think we have it I think we have it at 13 specifically so that it can't do that, because with that it's probably worth a lot more, like 16, 17. Yeah, then Megacham is kind of crazy in my opinion. Yeah, Pekarunt I've also learned is like really good defensively, because if you look at its stats, to me it's kind of, outside of its Fizz Def, it's kind of unimpressive with 88 across the board and 160 defense. But honestly, because if you invest in either its like HP or Spadef or whatever you want it to do, it's honestly more than bulky enough. Plus Toxic and Poison Papaneer or Malignant Chain is also a really good move. Oh, and Malignant Chain plus Hex is kind of just a dirty ass combination, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I was calcing for Pecharunt in one of the first games I played, and yeah, it is deceptively bulky. Poison types also in general are sneaky defensive Pokemon.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I really like his defensive typing, and like you have to hit it on the special side or you're just not knocking out this Pokemon.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think Terra Fighting is pretty good for it. I will note that I think it retains its Psychic weakness, which I'm not a fan of. But it does get rid of its Dark weakness into a resistance, which I do like. So potato, I suppose.
Yeah. Couple things I wrote about this team. I do really like it on paper. It's just really a really good balanced team with a few tricks. In fact, I did a few YouTube series back in the day, road to top 10 in different tiers. Raikou was RU in some tier, and he was on my team. I made it to top 10, so big fan of Raikou.
Yeah, it's a cool guy.
But Metacham on paper is really scary, but in practice, using it, fighting against it, I think it's a really good endgame sweeper in theory. But like breaking is difficult because he doesn't get covered. So for like example, I had Dusclops on my team.
I mean, it gets the elemental punches and is it bullet punch it gets? No, it doesn't get it priority. Can't remember what the other thing that it gets.
I think it does get bullet punch.
It does? Maybe
it does get fake out. Yeah, fake out, bullet punch priority.
Yeah. But just in general, I feel like Trailblaze, dual stabs, and then one of the elemental punches is really all you need for a really good offensive Metacham set. In fact, when we first did Megas for RCL, which I think was 8A, I believe, we actually had it banned because in mine, Ziggy's, and Gray's head, Trailblaze Metacham was like absurd. Before we realized, wait a minute, the main way you beat Metacham is simply being faster. So any Pokemon that's faster, you now just slap a Scarf on and then it's the same issue resolved. So it's not that broken. We still have it fairly highly rated, of course.
I wasn't aware he got Trailblaze. That's definitely a cool tool for Metacham in its arsenal.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying Metacham is bad. It's definitely better than Mega Altaria, but Yeah, I think like there's a lot of deceptively easy ways to stop it. Like Terra Psychic was something that I think
Yeah.
Sean did
Yeah,
last
the Terra
season, and
Psychic Vullaby kind of just fucking ward the fuck out of it. That was so hard to watch, I'm not gonna lie.
yeah. Uh, Pokemon's just a game. The more you know, then just the easier, well, OU is or draft is.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the past, when Megas first came out on the Battle Spot singles, everyone thought Mega Manectric and Mega Metacham were going to be like the two most broken Megas, and then in reality, they ended up like
Very
falling
lackluster.
to below the top 10, maybe top 20 most used Megas.
Yeah, they were
Uh,
very underused. I
but
mean,
yeah, huge fan of this team. I do think his terror typings were a little weak, but I think besides that, he definitely has a chance to make it to semis or finals if he's able to turn his slow start down.
yeah, for sure. It's also worth noting that Mega Metacham is actually still OU in XY and Sun and Moon. I thought it fell to UU.
I don't remember it falling to UU, but
Yeah.
it's also been a while.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm just checking out its Smogon now. I honestly thought it fell, but apparently not. Oh well. Anyway, we ready to move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Perfect. We have Jared. Welcome, Jared. I don't have much faith in Jared. I kind of did my rankings in a very patchwork way. I'm like, okay, I think these people will go high. I think these people will go low, and kind of worked my way that way, kind of thing. And in the end, I just couldn't find a place for Jared where I thought he would be good up above. I see you very much like his team, and honestly, I really like his team. Urshifu Single, Annihilate, Landorus T, Gardevoir are all such incredible offensive slash defensive positions, as well as Magnezone in that vein as well. The Blastoise I think is kind of a mid choice. It's good that it has the removal option of Rapid Spin, but other than that, it's kind of whatever. The Vikavolt with Sticky Web is probably the most important piece to tying this team together. Because outside of Salazzle, it's very slow. With like, if your fastest Pokemon is Mega Gardevoir, you are gonna have some issues. I believe. So it's really important that he got the Vikavolt, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Sticky Web. If he didn't have Sticky Web, this team would fall down my rankings too. But
Yeah,
because of what we talked about with hazard removal, I think Sticky Webs is really strong this particular league.
absolutely is. Yeah. It's also worth noting that almost everything here has your momentum. Urshifu has U-turn, Annihilate U-turn, Lando U-turn, Gardevoir has Teleport. Still, which I didn't remember for a long time. Magnezone has Volt Switch. Vikavolt has U-turn and Volt Switch. It's like, oh, and Blastoise I think got Flip Turn. It's like almost all of his Pokemon have momentum, which is fucking crazy. Makes it really difficult to deal with, I think.
Yeah, really solid Volt Turn team.
Absolutely.
One sneaky pick for people looking to counter Volt Turn is eject button.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
uh, yeah, I like to put it on a regenerator Pokemon. That way you're taking almost no damage, and then you can go directly into a breaker. But yeah, Volt Turn. If you don't run eject button, you're just going to have to predict them to go for them and be a man, stay in, take the hit, and attack who you think's coming in.
Yup, it can be really hard to try and get those predictions often as well, hey.
Yeah. Also, if you pressure them with hazards, then it just punishes them for switching as often, but
Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
Especially in a team
Volturn.
with little removal. Like, I'm pretty sure it's just got Blastoise's Rapid Spin. Does Vikavolt still have defog? I know it used to. Do you know if it kept it?
I don't think it did. I mean, honestly, the list for defog in this league is extremely small. Like, I go on Pokemon Showdown, I type defog, I go through the list, who's available, and like, almost nothing was available. So I think it lost it.
Unfortunate. Well, yeah, I think it might just be Blastoise's defog then, because I do know Landorus lost it. And having a Volt Turn team with only one removal kind of will force you to run boots probably more than you'd like. But yeah, I still think it's a really solid team across the board. I also love Nosepass as our one-pointer, because we also have Nosepass as a player, and I think that's funny.
Yeah. Nosepass, some one-pointers, you look at them and you say they're not coming to any games, but any Pokemon with sturdy ability can get up rocks, can explode. So, like, Nosepass definitely could come certain matchups and be, like, do what he needs it to do.
No, that's
Obviously,
so fair.
there's a gimmick strategy too people used to do run level 1 Pokemon with Endeavor and stuff, Fairy Juice, but
Yeah,
I don't think that.
that's what Piplup wanted to do. That, in case you're wondering why he has two one-pointers, that is why he has Cottony. He wanted to do the sub leech seed Cottony thing. But he doesn't.
Yeah,
He didn't seem to realize it.
Can't it?
What's that?
Oh, I was gonna say the other gimmick Cottony can do is you run Focus Sash, you run Endeavor, and then Nature Power is a prankster move that always goes first. You get a guaranteed knockout that way.
I did not know Prankster was a... Sorry, I messed up my speech. I didn't realize Nature Power was considered Prankster.
Yeah, I lost to some of those sets in Battle Spot early on.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Actually, now that you mention it, somebody actually brought Prankster Whimsicott Nature Power to the finals, I think, and with terrain support, back when Tapu Koko, Tapu Fini, and stuff were running around. Prankster terrain boosted Nature Power was just really broken. It was probably Whimsicott's best set that year.
That's awesome. What the fuck?
I'll send you a link to that game so you can watch it later. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. He also has quite a lot of rockers, which rocks are good, but also he doesn't have spikes, I don't think. Which is unfortunate.
Yeah, you're right.
I think that's all I have to say about Jared's team, though.
Okay. Looking at my notes, one thing I really like is his type synergy. That's always a huge plus to me.
Yeah, no, that's true.
The weak links I see on this team are Salazzle, and actually I'm not a huge fan of Lando T in draft. I'm a huge fan of it in 3v3 and OU, but draft I think it's a little overrated.
Honestly, I'm gonna have to agree with you, because every time I use Landorus, I feel like I've never used it well, and I've talked to Ziggy and Gray about this, and they've kind of had the same experience, where obviously it's a good mon. You can't ever say it's not a good mon, but at the same time, something just doesn't feel right about using it in draft, and I can't really put my finger on it.
Yeah. Sounds like we've all had similar experience and also just theory moning.
Yeah,
So,
basically.
Lando T's best roles, the things it does best. Obviously, on this Volturn team, you'd want to run Scarf almost every week, but on general teams, Rocky Helmet Intimidate is a great set for it.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, in draft, people can run mix. So like physically defensive Landorus no longer can do that role as well. And like I don't know, Lando just had everything going for it when it had Z crystals and it had like yeah, it's really taken a step back. It's really easy to prep for. It's really hard to switch in. The best time to switch it in is when something dies and like yeah, it's really great Pokemon, like you said, great stats, but yeah, just missing a few things.
Yep, for sure. All right, are you ready to move on?
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
All right, moving on to the Birdman himself, Archen. Yeah, I didn't have anything wrong with the team, honestly. I didn't know what to do. I think there's one more team later on that I have like that same message that is like I don't have any major problems with the team. I will say it's very fast overall, having Cyclizar, Mousehold, and Keldeo all above 100, then Chi-Yu and Comfey at 100. Hell, even Gliscor at 95 is still really solid, like, speed tiers. Like, literally, if you look at, like, the color spectrum, he has 6 green Pokemon, 1 orange, and then 3 red, right? It's, like, pretty fast overall. And then it has quite a bit of removal as well. Gliscor somehow kept Defog. Cyclizar has its Rapid Spin. Braviary, Hisui, and Comfey also both have Defog, I believe. Mousehold also has Tidy Up. Just overall, it's really solid looking, which, as we were saying before, in this meta, there's not a lot of good removal, so it's crazy that this guy has so much, in my opinion.
Yeah. Removal is probably among the best in the league, most definitely.
Honestly, I think it is the best in the league.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the other people closely, but yeah, you're probably right. Let's stick with that.
I see you've ranked the team kind of low. What's your reasoning behind that?
A few things going through my head. One of them is we talked about Landorus losing a lot in league. I think Gliscor lost as much, if not more, than Landorus, in my opinion. Still a great Pokemon. Okay, you were gonna say something. What was on your mind?
No, I was literally just clearing my throat. I was listening. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. So I like what he was trying to do with the regen core Cyclizar Amoonguss.
Definitely.
I think if you can build a good team around regen, then just good things happen, in my experience.
Yeah, that's what Undead did back in like season 4. He had like Tangrowth, Amoonguss, Taunty, like I think there was something else as well, but he had like a full regen core, and basically I think he went 10-0 that season. I think he literally won all of his games.
I believe it. Yeah, there was a time where yeah, most of Pokemon was lacking some offense, and so regen was just really hard to break through. It was almost as hard as stall.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like what he was trying to do. I just don't think he did best job building around regen. An example, the example I wrote down is back when I started playing Battle Spots and they had a few cores built around Mega Pokemon.
Yep.
So like, there's the core Zapdos, Blaziken, Ferrothorn. So your goal is you can switch in on physical attackers with physically defensive Zapdos, special attackers with Ferrothorn, and you can sweep with Blaziken. So your goal was to slowly wear down your opponent and then sweep.
Right.
So this team has great breakers, it has great revenge killers, has great walls, but like who's going to sweep when the game's getting low? I know Chiyu. Maybe I'm undervaluing Chiyu. Obviously, I am because that thing crushed me week 1. But yeah, in my mind, side Chiyu is a great breaker, but
Yeah,
like
it's kind
dark
of too
fire type,
slow to be a sweeper in my opinion. It's best off just hitting ridiculously hard.
yeah, hit and run. Yeah, that's how I imagine Chiyu works the best.
I I'm
Uh,
don't I'm not 100% sure about this, but isn't Keldeo usually considered a breaker and a sweeper?
yeah. Keldeo most often used as a breaker, choice spec. But like you do have a setup sweeper set with sub Calm Mind. Some people, when they don't have another Scarfer, they can use Keldeo as a Scarfer. But in my opinion, like Keldeo's base stats aren't super high for it to be a great Scarfer. It's just a good enough Scarfer. So like he has setup sweeping options, he has breaking options, but uh yeah, I don't know. The team's okay, but I didn't I didn't love how all the pieces fit together.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Something that I also just remembered and I'm gonna say failed to bring up earlier was Terra Ground Comfy. Ground what is it? Ground fairy coverage is really good, especially with its priority, like Giga Drain, Draining Kiss. That I'm pretty sure that could be like a pretty solid threat for especially like a low tier threat, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Steel types give Comfy the most trouble. Being able to hit them super effectively is a huge plus for Comfy. I'm with you there.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of his Terror Captain. Uh
Do you
yeah,
know a
like
lot
the
of what
team.
Hisui does? Because I'm not gonna lie, I do not know a lot of what this thing does.
Its special attack is its best stat, I believe. I think it's mostly used as a breaker, but uh, yeah, I think in my opinion, Braviary is one of the normal Mons better than its Hisui counterpart. So I
Mm.
think they just Braviary's best set is bulk up Roost. Uh, this thing I think can call mine, but its typing just lets it down in my opinion.
Yeah,
So
psychic flying is a bit of an
yeah, I think
awkward typing. We've only is it just Swoobat and Sigilif that have it? Oh, and Zatu and Zatu. Is that it? Oh, Lugia
yeah, I
actually.
believe so. Yeah.
Lugia, but we're not counting
Okay.
him.
Lugia's right.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
thinking about the typing, none of those Pokemon are particularly good. Well, obviously Lugia is, but like, we're gonna ignore that. But like, yeah, none of those Pokemon are particularly good outside of having like a really good signature ability with like Magic Bounce Zatu having a niche. But I can't remember Sigilif or Swoobat ever having other niches, to be frank. So I definitely am not thinking it's a good typing, which I guess makes it a really good Terra Captain.
Yeah. Swoobat does get the simple abilities, like it can set up and sweep, not in draft, but in low tier mon if your opponent doesn't have a Scarfer. But yeah, in my opinion, psychic types are actually sneaky good in draft. I think there's a lot of good psychic types. I don't think Braviary is a very good psychic type, but if if Leon wants to prove me wrong, I am definitely ready to be proven wrong. But yeah, it's weak to rock, so like yeah, there's just a lot of reasons I don't like that
Yeah,
Pokemon.
that sounds fair. I think it's also worth noting. I'm pretty sure Davis said he made this team. which is definitely odd to me because this is not this kind of team he would normally go with, in my opinion. I do know he made some choices like Berserker specifically because Archen wanted him to. But yeah.
Okay, so based on previous conversations we've had too, sounds like everyone in B is ready to take that step up to A, and so they're utilizing good players in A. So
yeah, there's quite a few players. Well, actually, I mean, not really. And to be fair, I'm not gonna lie. Archen is, if he actually went like full effort and really tried to win a season, he definitely could, in my opinion, or at least be like in the top 3 or 4. It's more of, what year are we in 2024? So back when I first met Archen back in fucking 2017, it's been a good few years now. He used to do like maximum effort, and he was like one of the best players at that point of the league. But at some point, he just kind of got burnt out, as what happens to a lot of good players and even not so good players. Let's be real here. And after he got burnt out, he did stop playing for a while, but he also just started playing with dumb shit and just having more fun, which is also very, very fair in my opinion. And because of that, he's never really tried his best again. Like basically since since he's been in RCL, I don't think he's tried his best ever, which I think is a large part of why he underperforms. Because he usually just prefers to fuck around and find out, and he will also never say no to a meme battle. Like the amount of times back like in early RCL when I was either in B division or didn't have the divisional split. I think every single battle me and the bird had was all meme battles because we thought it was hilarious. Yeah.
okay.
But I think that's more why, because as far as I'm aware, he's not even getting help from him. He just had him build a team.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, I better understand what's going on now. Yeah, he's a experienced player, and he's like, I'm trying to make this fun. Let's have someone else help me build a team, and then I'll just run with it. Like, yeah, I could see myself doing that too. One thing I will say about getting burned out, I've definitely been there with Pokemon. I'm still kind of there, truthfully, but I'm trying to have fun this season. One of the reasons I was open to joining B is in chess. Magnus Carlsen's arguably the best player. What he started doing was Entitled Tuesday and stuff. He started playing for tricks. So like his first few opening moves were not good moves, and he would say, "Can I come back from a losing position and win?" or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's one way you can help fight burnout. Just like challenge yourself, do some stuff you normally wouldn't do, and there's a few other things I've tried, and yeah, burnout's something everyone's fighting against.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think I've ever been burnt out on Pokemon, simply because I kind of just lose too much, and I never really. It's not that I never fully try. It's more the fact that I just what's the prepare for the worst, hope for the best. I usually just make a team, and usually takes me like half an hour to an hour, depending on how much I actually do try, because I do put effort in at some points. But then usually once I've done that, I'm just like, all right, fuck it, we ball, let's go, and hope for the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could totally understand that. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you put 3-4 hours in a team and then you get 5-0'd, like you can't help but be mad.
Exactly right, and that's
you put
that's just one of those things that it's just like you can't help that. Shall we
yeah,
move on?
let's move on. Yeah,
Next
we'll see
up
you
is
there.
actually you. So
Okay, we won't have to spend too much time on this team, but yeah, start us
yeah.
off. Let's see what
So I
are there any good
actually
things about this team?
I put you at 15th, because I still think even with this interesting team, you'll still beat Will overall, and so far in the season, you still are, and I think that's amazing. Your team is definitely the worst, but I will say it is like shockingly defensive with Eviolite. Um, like Serena is really bulky. Oricorio with Terra Ground is really good. Eviolite Dusclops is amazing. Porygon 2 with Eviolite's amazing. Lantern is like also fairly bulky. Arbok, I'm just glad you drafted it. I don't think it's good at all, but I'm glad you drafted it. It makes me happy.
Yeah, it gets a few good tricks as I showed week 1. I'll get Toxic
Yeah.
Spike,
Toxic Spikes is awesome.
Switcheroo, Sucker Punch. Yeah, besides that, yeah, I did bring it week 1 since I said it would. I don't think it's coming to any other games, but we'll see. Maybe he'll have a dream matchup and I can't resist bringing it.
Also, Ambipom is honestly an underrated low team on.
Yeah, I'm with you there, most definitely.
It's like fairly solid. Like what is it? 110 attack, 115 speed, plus like tail whip as well. It's like I think it's really solid.
Yeah, its abilities allow it to run a lot of different sets. It gets priority. Also, has really good coverage. You can run it Scarf and U-turn, albeit its power's not really there with Scarf. But
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. One of the first YouTubers I used to watch who did draft league content was Shady Penguin. And
oh, yep.
Yeah, he loved this mon, drafted it, did okay with it, never did great things, but yeah, I'm like, for 5 points, it gives me speed, and yeah, it's probably going to come to most of my games.
Well, considering...
Unless I run hard stall.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to have a mon at 115 or above, and considering your tier restrictions, the fact that you even found one is honestly just impressive. Yeah, I think your other option would have been like Electrode or something at 2 points, I think it is. But like, let's be real, who actually wants Electrode?
Yeah. Agree wholeheartedly. One thing I will say about this team, well, first off, I was expecting some Yanmega or Oricorio sweeps, but I haven't been able to bring either one yet. So that was a little disappointing.
I definitely think Oricorio will sweep at some point.
Yeah. Planning for that Pokemon in my first match against Davis last season, like, its stats are deceptively amazing.
Absolutely.
Like, it's extremely hard to prep for in the calculator.
Especially having its 4 forms makes it really annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to think, like, Silvally was incredibly difficult to prep for in the past because it could run all 18 or 19 typings or whatever.
Yep.
Eventually I lost that, but yeah, Oricorio had some of that, most definitely.
Yeah, I can't believe...
One sneaky thing...
You go on.
Oh, go ahead.
Mine is not relevant at all, so you go on.
Alright. Looking at my team, you generally know what every Pokemon's going to do, and you can prep for it, but, like, a lot of people were surprised I was running Rocky Helmet plus Passimian, if that's how you say it.
Yeah.
But, like, if you look at its stats, its HP and defense is crazy. Like, it rivals Registeel and, like, those types of Pokemon and stuff.
Wow, 190 is actually really solid.
Yeah.
It's
So
almost
I
on
brought
par
it to.
with Mew.
Yeah, I drafted in a few tournaments, and like I've played around with it a lot in the past, and yeah, in my opinion, defensive rest sleep talk is like its best set. But like it runs AV amazing, it runs Scarf amazing, Scarf
Yeah.
lead, it runs Banded Breaker amazing. Like this Pokemon is just really undervalued in my opinion.
Yeah, I
Huge
think
fan
it's
of
just
this
that it's hard
Pokemon.
to get good utilization out of it. I think that's the main reason it's so low. Its move
Yeah, there's
pool.
better fighting types. I'm with you there.
Yeah, it's like it's a usable mon. It's just kind of outclassed by a lot of other things.
Yeah, fighting type isn't essential to put on any draft team, in my opinion. And if you are going to put a fighting type on it, there are better ones than Custodians. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm with you there, but still love this Pokemon.
No,
Really,
it's so
really
fair.
cool one.
All right. Are you ready to move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Easy. Also worth noting, we might remember when I said this might take like about an hour? We're now at an hour and we're like halfway there.
Okay, if you want to speed up, I can talk a little bit less. Or
No,
if
we're all
this is
good.
good,
The time honestly isn't a big deal. It's just I was kind of just making an estimate for like your scheduling. Really, I thought it would probably take about an hour. Not that we need to hurry up at all. I'm free for like 3.5 more hours. So as long as we're done before that, I don't really care.
okay, sounds
Um,
good.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
start with the rankings once again. So, like with Jared, I kind of had a lot of problems with Hawlucha, where just working from the top and the bottom and working my way towards the middle, I couldn't put it in good conscience that he would make playoffs. But then I also thought there would be more players like right outside of it, like Derek and Aiden or Piplup and Houndoom. I thought they would be like just out of it. And it kind of just came down to well, I guess I'll put him below them. I had a lot of trouble with figuring out exactly where. Outside of that, though, I think your ranking is honestly a little bit too low in my opinion. I think like Gallade and Bundle and Terrapagos, like Gallade and Bundle are probably the best like offensive pieces on the physical and special side in terms of like fast physical pieces. Terrapagos is a really good all-rounder in my opinion, plus gives hazard support with Rapid Spin, plus Terra Shell is really nice. Skarmory is always a really good defensive tank. Azumarill filled in. This was a Grace pick that I recommended to him, but it kind of really filled in exactly what he needed in terms of fighting resists and what was the other reason we got it? Right, and more dragon immunity. I think it works really well on this team. The rest of it, I think, isn't as good. Crook is fine. You definitely want to have a ground type and a dark type, usually. I don't know how much I agree with Terra Grass. It keeps you U-turn weak, and honestly, I can't think of any benefit to Terra Grass on Crocodile. Brambleghast also has Rapid Spin, I believe, which is definitely nice, as well as a ghost type for immunities, which is good. Goth is Goth, I guess. I don't know. Without Shadow Tag, I actually can't think of any reason to draft it at all. I mean, even at 5 points, I feel like why Gothitelle when Espeon's at 6 and oh, you took Espeon, didn't you? No, you didn't. Who took Espeon? Did anyone take Espeon?
I feel like someone did, yeah. Can't remember who.
Um,
I'll take a look.
right, Nosepass took it. Okay, never mind then. I guess that probably is the next best psychic type, probably. I mean, there's Malamar in 5 points as well. I don't know. I'm not on the goth hype train. It's unfortunate to say.
Yeah. One shout out I will say for Gothitelle. There was a showdown meta a while ago that was like Suicide Cup. I think they rebuilt they brought it back, they relabeled it, but your goal was to have your team die before the other team.
Oh, I remember
and so,
that.
like, you'd use... Yeah, there were a lot of strategies, but eventually people came to realize Gothitelle and Gothitelle's pre-evolutions were a great way to win at Suicide Cup. And so, one shout out for Gothitelle.
Yeah, good job, Gothitelle. You're good at killing yourself. Yeah, it's just
obviously
feels like an
has
awkward
a few,
pick.
Yeah, few good uses in doubles, but yeah, singles, not a huge fan of it either.
Especially without Shadow Tag.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at this team, I want to like it. I really want to like it. I really want to rank it high because his rolls are solid. Great speed tiers, great physical wall, has some assault vest options. The two weaknesses, in my opinion, are lacking a good special wall. You put Fairy weak, but in my opinion, this is also pretty electric weak. Because Crook, you don't want it to be a wall. Most of the time, you want it to be a sweeper.
Yeah, I see your point.
So,
I see your point. His two immunities are Crook and Golem. Golem's likely never coming, and Crook you don't want to be switching in all the time. And then his one resist is Bramble, which is never defensive either. Yeah, you make a really good point. Sandy Shocks could probably rail this team.
Yeah, most definitely. Great coverage, great offensive stats, great rolls, but I want to rank it higher. I just couldn't, so it's kind of put it in the middle.
Yeah, that sounds pretty fair. Actually, I'm gonna add. Because after this video goes up tomorrow, I'm going to post everyone's thing so that they can have a reference for them as well. So that if they want to make changes, they know what they should be looking for, kind of thing.
Oh, smart.
Yeah. Got anything else to say? Because I don't think I do.
Good luck. I love Azu.
Yeah.
In my opinion, Pokemon who can lead with the Assault Vest item are just extremely valuable. So, like, Azu, one of the best AV users in the game.
That's so fair.
Huge fan of this Pokemon.
Alright, well, moving on to Landorus. Oh yeah, it's very interesting situation with the ground type, I believe. It's got 5 weaknesses and 2 immunities, but no actual resists, which I think is really interesting, because that's a lot of weaknesses, but at the same time, when you can easily just swap in Landorus or Motom, it's like, yeah, it's very interesting to in my opinion. It's a kind of solid sand team with like Sand Force Landorus, obviously Excadrill, T-Tar, Iron Boulder also gets benefits from it. Clefable with Magic Guard also doesn't take Sand Chip, which is pretty nice. I feel like Typhlosion is kind of weird on this team. I'm not opposed to it. I just don't get it really.
Yeah, with you there.
Kind of same with Lapras actually. I don't know why he's here. Actually no, I know why it's here, to eat up any water moves with Water Absorb.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I don't know why Typhlosion's here. That's my thing, I guess. And actually, same with Dippity. What is he doing here? I have no idea.
I mean, if he doesn't bring sand for some reason, like maybe brings AV Excadrill, maybe leaves Mega T-Tar on the bench, maybe
Yeah,
form
no,
of
that's
speed
fair.
control.
Yeah, that's fair.
My initial thoughts about this team are, in my opinion, Mega T-Tar is worse in every way than regular Tyranitar,
Yeah,
in
that's
draft
that's
especially.
yeah, that's pretty fair. It's kind of like Garchomp in that way, where you're restricting their item because it just makes them worse.
Yeah. So love regular T-Tar, hate Mega T-Tar, but if we look past that, I think this is arguably the best hyper offense team in the league. Definitely top two in my opinion.
Honestly, that sounds pretty reasonable.
Uh, yeah. Anytime you run a lot of ground type, which isn't bad, especially if you have gravity support. I'm not sure if Clefable gets gravity, but that might be something he could look into if
And
none of his
say I'm
Pokemon do
gonna I'm
get
gonna check
gravity.
that real quick because I don't know either. One sec. Does my fucking move dock thing not have gravity on it, or does it not learn it? I'm just gonna search Clefable. Yeah, okay, it does have gravity.
Okay. So that could be a sneaky set he brings, albeit setup for gravity is very difficult because, like, you need Clefable set up gravity and then die, and then you have 4 turns to work with. Anything
Yeah.
outside of that, gravity setup is extremely difficult.
It's a lot like Trick Room in that way, where it can work, but it needs to be really specifically worked out with.
Yeah. Barring gravity, like anytime you bring Pokemon who share offensive ground type in this case, like if your opponent runs a Shucka Berry, that's a setup stopper. So
Yeah,
like
no,
it's a
that's
really
true.
easy item for them to slam. All of a sudden you thought you were sweeping with Excadrill, the Pokemon live, knocks out Excadrill, like
Yeah, absolutely.
uh So I'm a big fan of Sand. I do think similar to the Sun team, this it has too many Pokemon you want to try to sweep with Sand, and like I think he's gonna succeed some weeks, but I think there's other weeks he's gonna fail against people with the right prep.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, I also want to call attention to his hazards. He has 4 rockers in Clef, Exca, Lando, and Tita, but then he doesn't have any other kind of hazard. It's one of those awkward things where it's like it's good to have a lot of rockers, but if rock's your only thing, then I can't say that it's good hazards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is why I just put
So good
interesting
hazard.
question mark.
Yeah, good hazard setters, but limited hazards.
Yeah, it's like a really awkward interaction of it's kind of like again the 5 weaknesses and 2 immunities. It's kind of just an awkward position in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely agree with that assessment. Uh, yeah, in my opinion, in draft, hazards are a way you can win. You can build a team around hazards. Like good players generally don't even need to rely on hazards to win. Like some
Mm,
matchup hazards are good. You should prioritize getting up hazards, but other matchups like your opponent's going to waste a turn setting up hazards. You can use that turn to get off good damage, and then you have the health advantage, and you can play towards that towards your win con.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I like the team, don't love it though.
Yeah, it definitely has flaws, but it's also still a fairly solid sand team. And I also think it's worth noting. I'm gonna say the environment as a loose term. B Division obviously has a lot worse players than A Division. It's got quite a few noobs or players with little experience. And I think having a solid sand team will overwhelm a lot of them. Kind of like what we saw happen this week with Will's team, if you watched that game, where his opponent, who will not be named for right now, just got overwhelmed with a sun sweeping Venusaur and just didn't know how to handle it. I think that's definitely possible to happen against some of the other players with this team as well.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Weather is really hard for newer players to deal with. It took me a long time to figure out how to consistently beat weather teams.
Yeah, it's just it's a bit of a difficulty curve, which I think is why it's good for B Division, but not so good for A Division, as we saw with Backrest last season.
Yeah, I was sure after we finished drafting that he was finishing top 2 or 3. His team looks so scary on paper. I don't know what went wrong, but
Honestly,
I think the biggest thing was
neither.
Mega Caesar let him down.
Yeah, it not having Roost
but
certainly hurt that, and that's also why we dropped its points this season. Just losing Roost and actually no, it kept Defog, but like yeah, it just became a lot harder to use.
yeah,
Anyway, are you ready to move on?
yeah, let's
Perfect.
go on to
Well, next up
whoever's
is the
next.
man himself, the Rain Team, Leafeon. Sorry, that was way too perfect.
Great. Yeah, you sorry, not thinking clearly. You transitioned well into this.
What can I say? Rain. We were talking about weather, and then we brought out Leafeon. I'm like, okay, we got to go with the weather team next. So yeah, I ranked Leafeon at second. I could definitely see him doing a little bit better, or a little bit worse, but I put him at second just because I'm on Josh's hype train, as almost always. But just to start off, having the synergy on this Rain team is really good in my opinion, with obviously Pelipper and Screamtail being the main setter and abuser, but as I think you'll agree with me, Lance, the best weather teams are the ones that don't need weather to function. And on that note, Jolteon is really nice, Goodra is really nice. Volcarona works in and out of. It works better without, but that's whatever. And even Swampert, despite being a little bit slow, its other stats are basically all through the roof, you know what I mean? So while it would like weather to sweep, if you're not planning on sweeping with it, it's really solid. Like 100, 110, 110 for defensive stats and 150 attack is still really good as a tank. It's kind of like Ursa Luna, but also specially bulky, in my opinion.
Yeah, a lot of good points. Agree with everything you said so far.
Yeah. I will say there is no ghost resistance, which is funny because Hooper goes burr.
Yeah, that'll be a good matchup for him.
Yep. Hitmonlee and Corviknight are the only removal, which I think is pretty good. Corviknight with Defog and Hitmonlee with Spin, which I actually didn't realize until I looked into this matchup a lot more. I guess it makes sense through breeding because of Hitmontop, obviously. But it's just something I never knew until, like, last week or something.
Yeah, it takes a long time to learn what Pokemon do, what moves they get, and Spin is definitely good tech for Hitmonlee. You can raise speed with that, unburden, secondary option. Yeah, Hitmonlee, a really good sneaky pick.
Yeah. It's kind of like Persimmon, where just because it's in a low tier doesn't mean it's not good. It's more that it's outclassed.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very
definitely
solid low tier, in my opinion. Corviknight as well. Corviknight and Clodsire form a really good defensive synergy, in my opinion, being physical and special defense, respectively. As well as Clodsire is just kind of a dick overall, especially because we allow it to Terra, but just in general, having Unaware and Water Absorb and Poison Point just makes it really frustrating to deal with a lot of the time.
Yeah, Clodsire was definitely the Pokemon who brought the most adversity to A Division last season. Everyone hated going against that Pokemon.
Oh, yeah. And also, on that note, Screamtail. Screamtail is such a weird Pokemon. It's kind of the first of its, I'm going to say, archetype in the way that it's fast and bulky. Normally we get, like, if it's bulky, it's either offensive or it's offensive and slow. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not normal to have a good defense and good speed and bad offenses. It's kind of like a fast Cresselia or Uxie, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really right on the ball point. Really interesting Pokemon, and like gets even faster if you put on a Sun team. But
Oh, absolutely. Its move pool is also really fucking annoying.
it gets Bulk Up and Calm Mind, doesn't it?
Yeah, it gets Bulk Up and Calm Mind, as well as, of course, Stored Power. And then there's also, like, it gets all the different weathers as well, so we can set its own Sunny Day or Rain Dance as a backup for if, like, something happens to Pelipper or whatever. It's also got Screens and Encore and, like, it's just really annoying overall. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in my opinion, I think most leagues haven't figured out how to utilize it to its potential yet.
I
Because if other
agree.
players had, I think its point value would skyrocket.
Yeah,
Because
it's
I was trying to
definitely
prep
difficult
for
to
this
use.
Pokemon.
If
Yeah,
you go back to season 8, I believe, you'll see Archen use it, and he fucking destroyed. He swept like 2 or 3 people with it basically. By using
yeah.
like a bulk up Calm Mind stored power set most of the time. Like it would just went so crazy. It was amazing. But it's one of those things where it's still really difficult to use, which is why it's still in a lower tier. Because if it was easy to use with that kind of like winning potential, then it would definitely be much higher. But I'm gonna say it's got a learning curve. I think that's the best way to word it. It's got a learning curve that makes it really difficult to use.
Yeah, all of your points make sense. I'm not surprised it did really well once someone figured out how to use it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just calcing for this thing, if it runs max speed, you have to invest a lot of resources if you want to knock it out by outspeeding it and hitting it hard. If it runs a bulk up set, you have to invest a lot of resources into hitting it hard on the special side. If it runs a Calm Mind set, you have to invest a lot of resources to hit it on the physical side. Like
Yeah.
with greens, you can't do anything against it.
Yep.
Yeah, really, really difficult Pokemon to prep for.
It also helps. One of the main ways people deal with screens is with Brick Break, and it really is nice that it's. Hi, Bubby. It's really nice that it 4 times resists it, plus having Corviknight and Clodsire and Volcarona. Honestly, this team is really good at stopping. It can be really good at getting screens up with Light Clay Screamtail, swapping the Pelipper, you turning out into Swampert, and then sweeping with screens up, or Volcarona and Quiver Dancing and sweeping, in my opinion.
Yeah, 2 best green sweepers on this team. Yeah, I agree. Volcarona and also like Iron Defense Gudra or whatever,
Yeah,
Acid
true.
Armor, whatever it gets. I know it gets something.
What was it? Sorry?
Gudra gets something that boosts its defense 2
Oh,
stages.
yeah.
Either
It's
Iron
Iron
Defense
Defense.
or Acid Armor. Okay.
Actually, it might be both. Anyway.
Yeah, and then Gudra's ability with Rain allows it to rest, get to full,
Yep,
and
hydration.
with hydration. Yeah, this team definitely contender. I'd be surprised if this team fell any shorter than semifinals.
Absolutely. I definitely think it's going to be a top 4 team. Like it just feels really it feels impossible for it to not. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100% agree.
Do you have any final words?
I guess if you're asking if this team's so good, if he's going to finish so high, then how come it didn't get rank 1? And that's a very good question. Like this team could have easily gone rank 1. I just think this team's gonna depend a little too much on Rain, and I think it's a little wall heavy in my opinion. Like,
Yeah, that's true. Corviknight,
in my
Clodsire, Goodra,
opinion,
Screamtail.
yeah, in my opinion, when you're building a general team for your opponent, I like to go with the trifecta strategy: physical wall, special wall, mixed wall, and
Yeah,
then
that's
your other
fair.
3 are up to you. You can run a good lead set, a good revenge killer, setup sweeper, but generally, if like you're fast building teams and you're not mocking, which is kind of what I'm doing this season,
Yep.
I build my trifecta of defense and then I leave the other 3 slots for offense. This team, I think it's going to rely a lot on Rain for offense, and I think its defense is going to allow good players opportunities to get behind substitutes, to get set up.
Yeah, that makes
Obviously,
sense.
unaware Clodsire is going to be annoying, but like not
Yeah,
impossible.
absolutely.
But yeah, awesome draft like usual, Backroot.
Yep, he's
I
always
don't
been a
even know
pretty
if I'm
good
saying that
drafter.
right.
Yeah, Backrus.
Okay. Yeah, excellent job. Huge fan of the team.
Agreed, absolutely. I also think one more thing before we move on. Actually, I think I want to note that he tried a rain team in season A, like season 9A last season, and when he mentioned to me that he was thinking about doing it again here, I'm like, that's interesting. It didn't work for you at all, really, last season. He goes, and this is exactly why I'm a fan of having A divs imposter and B div, and he goes. Something along the lines of that's exactly why he wants to try it again so that he can learn to make it work better. Which I definitely think is a
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah, huge fan of that. There's some players who I'm not saying he's one of these, but there's some players who think they're really good at Pokemon, they're really good at the game, but then they're not willing to try Pokemon. They build assumptions. Some Pokemon are good, some Pokemon are bad, and they're not willing to try them. Like
Mm.
the best way you can figure out whether a Pokemon is good or bad is to use it and
Yeah,
also like
absolutely.
figure out how other people beat that Pokemon. So like if your opponent bring a strategy to beat a Pokemon you thought was really good that you'd never thought of, then next time you go against that Pokemon in a different league, you have ideas how you can beat that Pokemon more consistently.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, yeah, big fan of him trying to figure out the rain archetype, the good things about it, and the ways to beat it by using it.
Yep. All right, ready to move on?
Yeah, let's go on.
Sweet. Now we have Debug. Um, Debug loves. He normally goes with really slow teams, but I find it really funny. He has like the 2 fastest Pokemon in existence, and then like his 2 base 100s cure him, and then everything else is just like slow as fuck. I think that's really funny for some reason.
Oh wow, this is probably the one we're farthest apart on in our rankings, huh?
Yeah, it definitely is. 3rd and 12th is pretty big gap. To be fair, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of my ranking is carried by the fact that I think Debug is a really good player. He won season 8 B division on his that was his first ever competitive season, and he won it. He did get sent back to the B Div Scrublands in season 9, of course. Where he also didn't do as well due to well, due to burnout. That's the word. Jesus Christ. But he's
Okay.
back. He's back at his prime, basically. So I'm definitely interested. Sorry, I just got something on the back of my nose. Yeah, he's back at his prime, and I'm definitely thinking he'll score very well. But I also couldn't put him any higher due to what I'm going to agree with you on is a pretty all over the place team, kind of. Of course, defensively, it has quite a few big holes in Rock, Ghost, and Dark. But at the same time, Regieleki and Deoxys speed are so fast, they can kind of just do whatever the fuck they want. Yeah, it's also got quite a good bit of removal with Rapid Spin Lecky, Rapid Spin Fortress. Does Zapdos still have Defog? I think it might have lost it.
I don't know for sure. My guess is it lost it, but yeah, I'm not too familiar.
Yeah, and then it's also got really good hazards. Deoxys, of course, being like one of the greatest hazard stackers known to Ubers back in the old days, as well as Fortress being one of the best hazard stackers back in OU old days. Yeah, even Jirachi, I think, gets Stealth Rock, which is really nice. Terra Volcanion, I also think, is one of our best Terra captains in the 12th tier. And also Sticky Webs on Araquanid, now that I think about it. It's like, I think it's got a lot of good hazards.
Yeah, arguably best hazard option.
Honestly, I think it's definitely the best hazard team.
Yeah.
I do want to hear why you've got it ranked so low, though.
Okay. Yeah, I can give you some reasons. First I'll start with some pros. I'm a huge fan of Fortress. Brought it almost every game last season. If you have Pokemon who can switch into fire type moves, then this thing is just amazing wall, amazing lead. Can even run AV, a surprise offensive set, because his offensive coverage isn't great, but it's good enough. So, huge fan of that Pokemon. I do think this is arguably the second best hyper offense team in the league. Could be first. But in my opinion, hyper offense is really hard to make work against good players.
Yeah, that's fair.
B division, so I imagine this is probably going to be a playoff team.
Yeah, definitely.
If he can. But yeah, as far as team goes, I do like type synergy. I do like role synergy. I've used hyper offense in leagues. I've won leagues with hyper offense when I was first playing draft league. But over time, the more I played hyper offense, the more I realized that good players have a really easy time against hyper offense, because things you need to be successful with hyper offense is you need to make predictions. So you need to predict your opponent to switch this turn, and you need to hit the switch in for big damage. And yeah, if you do that, if you get all of those reads right, then you're golden. But good players, they normally have 2 switch-ins to every Pokemon. It's hard to know which one is coming in. So hyper offense just isn't as good as it used to be, in my opinion.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Honestly, I don't think I have anything to add to what you just said, but it does make a lot of sense. I also think Pokemon like Ting Lu really messed with that, where it's just not Whale or Dondozo, where they're just kind of like so absurdly fat. Tinglu mostly due to its ability. Dondozo mostly just due to it being a fat and water type, really. But I definitely think you have a very solid point in that hyper offense just isn't as good as it used to be. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's all I have for this team, but yeah, best of luck. Let's go on to our next one.
All right, we got Dewott now. Dewott. This is probably the one we have closest rankings in, which I think is interesting. We went from the furthest to the closest. Dewott's the kind of player where I see him just barely making the top 8. He could also be just outside of it as well, but I just in general see him making the just barely making it kind of thing. His team, I think, starts out really well with Latios, Miascarada, Moth, the Bear. I love the Bear. As well as a really good hazard setter in Samurott. And then I think towards the latter, and it kind of just starts to kind of fall apart. Cobalion, I don't like Cobalion, I'm not going to lie. Terra Ghost, I guess, helps not... Well, I guess it helps proc Justified. But if that's what you're using it for, then that's kind of stupid, probably. I don't know. Steel Mimikyu is also kind of interesting in my opinion. I don't really get why you do that. You don't resist the dark. I guess you're immune to poison then. I guess that makes some sense. Glaceon, I know Dewott just likes Glaceon, and that's fair enough. As a 2-pointer, it's fairly strong with, 110 special attack or something. As well as Freeze Dry, which is always a good move. And then there's also
stronger
Kamala.
Evolution.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's just kind of the fact that it's an ice type is why it's so low, really.
Yeah.
And then also picking up Kamala for his only removal, I think is a bad decision. Like it's good that you have removal, but if your only removal is 4-point Kamala, you're not gonna have a good day with it, you know.
Yeah. Agree with a lot of your points. I don't have too much to add. Like, I like the colors of this team. That's something Wolfie used to say.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
Like how colorful it was.
No, that's
I like the colors of this team. I think it could be good, but yeah, I'm just not sure. Like,
yeah, it's just kind of missing some things, and I can't quite say. There's no easy advice on how to fix it, in my opinion.
Yeah, well said. Couldn't have said it better myself.
I also want to point out its fighting matchup. This is the most weaknesses to a single type I've ever seen, I think. With 6 fighting weaknesses, and then 2 resist and 2 immune. It's funny. Well, actually, no. It's only even 1 immune because I'm not counting Zorua because that's dumb. Wait, no, yeah, it is immune to fighting. Yeah, I'm not counting Zorua. So it's 1 immunity, 2 resist, and 6 weaknesses, right? I think that's just all over. It's just a very odd matchup to a typing. As someone prepping for a team and as someone being on that team, I feel like it's very awkward to know what to do. Like, say, what's like the best fighting type? Say you're going up against a Mega Medicham. What the fuck do I prep? How do I prevent Mega Medicham from trailblazing on Ursaluna and then just sweeping my entire team? You know what I mean?
Obviously, yeah, you can run Troppleberry. It doesn't work against Medicham, but might work against some other things. But, yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah, having a huge weakness to one major typing, yeah, just you can't play the switch game. You just have to stay in stack, go into something faster, which, like, it can be successful, but having to do that every single game, like, it's just not going to work some games.
Yeah.
Hey, best
Um.
of luck to Detroit Dewott.
Yeah. Good luck, buddy. All right, moving on. We got my former protege, Derek Piplup, my boy. Um, Something I'm gonna point out immediately is I think the speed gap between Garchomp and Mega Blastoise is far too big. I like that it's a fairly fast team overall, but I'm the kind of person where I really want there to be at least like if you got a 90 speed point Pokemon, it would be perfectly fine in my opinion. Um, yeah, honestly, just because then it prevents Pokemon from getting in that like if you can't outspeed in Garchomp, you just get free Modest or Adamant to still outspeed Blastoise and everything below it, and also uh not needing to worry. I'm also realizing there's a Zoro Husui here as well for some reason. I don't know why that's here. Do ignore that.
Okay.
I don't know why that's here. Why is that there? Um, that's way too fat. That needs to be filled. There we go. Perfect. Like it was never there.
Looks good to me.
um, yeah, it's got a little bit of a weakness to fairy and flying, but they're also not too bad in my opinion. Like Toxapex is so bulky that I wouldn't really worry about its weakness to like as like having this as your only fairy resistance is probably fine as it's such a bulky bitch anyway. Um, yeah. Also, like over half. I think this team has like 6 or 7 knockoff users, which is really nice.
Yeah, knockoff, still a really good spammable move.
Yeah. Oh, and I think we mentioned it earlier, but Cottony with its bitch ass fear strats is stupid as. But this is more notable with Porygon 2, but Porygon 1 with Eviolite is still actually like fairly bulky. Like it's actually a usable defense stat in my opinion.
Uh, I'm gonna pull up the Pokemon calculator so I can say yay or nay. I've just never seen anyone ever use Porygon except in like Little Cup.
I say neither have I. But like when he first like came to me with the idea, I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, do a calc real quick.
Okay, base 65 HP, 70 defense, 75 special defense.
Yeah, it's like just
Okay.
usable.
Yeah, it's there's yeah, with the Eviolite, I could see that obviously it can't be a physical wall and special wall. Porygon 2 kind of can, even with no special defense investment, it can still like take
Yeah,
3 hits on the special side. But yeah, if you're just trying to make it one wall, either defense or special defense, I could definitely see this working.
absolutely. It's definitely a niche pick, but for a one pointer, it can get things done, and that's if you're going with a one pointer, that's all you really need, right?
Yeah.
I would like to know why you put it down at 14 though. What's your big problems with this team? Is it just the two one pointers?
uh, so I am willing to admit this could be the one I got most strong. Like, obviously, uh, obviously, people look at different teams and they think uh, different things.
Yo.
It has a lot of strengths, but one thing I like in this too is there's a game I play a bit of called Team Fight Tactics.
Oh yeah.
It's yeah, it's a resource management game, auto battler. But one of the worst things you can do in that game, one of the things that'll send you bottom 4 faster than anything, is having an expensive board that can't win fight. So like, you either want a cheap board that allow you to scale faster because you'll be able to save money, or you want an upgraded expensive board that can win. It'll put you a few turns back in the short term, but long term, like if you save health, you'll have more options in the late game. But the worst thing you can do is have an expensive board that can't win fight. It's the fastest way you can go bottom 4. Like when I look at this team, it looks like an expensive board, a lot of expensive mons, and they don't have a lot of synergy with each other. So like,
yeah, I can see that.
if you're asking someone, okay, like if you're asking someone to build, well, if you're asking someone to throw a lot of good mons on a team, I think they definitely did that. These are good Pokemon, but I don't see how they synergize together very well.
No, that makes sense.
So definitely gonna win some games, but yeah, that was my biggest critique.
Yeah, I can see that. I kind of with my ranking, I did think somewhat similar, but I also thought that being in B division, he would be able to just simply ogre bonk a lot of things, and going off what we've seen so far, he has ogre bonked quite a few things. Which is always fun.
Yeah.
But just in general, I think it's a lot. What's the right wording for this? It's a lot easier to overwhelm someone in B division than in A division, and I think having a lot of powerful pieces will allow him to overwhelm an opponent easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right there. But yeah, generally, if all you have to prep for is 7 Pokemon in a really skilled league, because you know the 1-pointers aren't coming, then like you're relieved. Prep's not going to take as long, in my opinion, than prepping for 9 good Pokemon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things. Back in season 7, I think it might have been season 7. Maybe it was a bit earlier. Anyway, there was one season where Archen, he wanted to draft. He had a full 12 roster of everything being between like 13 and 8, and it just made it really difficult to prep for, because if you can't pinpoint what the powerhouse is coming to like every game, like Ogerpon and Garchomp, if it's harder to pinpoint because they have 12 really like all usable Pokemon, it can be a lot harder to prep for. And I think that's kind of what makes Derek fall apart, is that there's 7 good Pokemon, which means that you only need to prep for 7 things, kind of, and it's usually, I don't think it's that impossible to predict which is the one not coming in this situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I definitely see your point. Yeah, that's all I have to say, though.
Good discussion. Best of luck, Playful Piplup.
Yep. Good luck, Derek. Moving on to Ziggy's protege now. We have Aiden coming back to fuck shit up. And I mean that literally, not that he's gonna do good. I really like Mega Diancie, but I'm sorry, Aiden, but every time I get on the Aiden hype train, I'm sorely disappointed. So I'm not getting on the hype train this time. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm putting him at 10th. It's a good team. I really like it. It's got Mega Diancie, which I love. It's got Slowking into Baxcalibur, with not Snowscape, Chili Reception. King Gambit is always a really good safety net for low tier, for like end game situations. Thunderous T is just fucking good. It hits extremely hard. The Revavroom was underrated before. I'm thinking it'll be pretty solid now. Chandelure is kind of hard to use. Quillidan's a really good bulky option. Donphan is kind of a jack of all trades. It's good that it has removal. Does he have any other removal? Wait, does Revavroom's Torque move remove things? Do you know?
I would guess no, but I haven't used Brevium very much.
Yeah, I'm not confident, but I think it might. Either way, though, it has removal, which is good. It's unfortunate that its fastest mon is Mega Diancie, though. It's definitely a good Pokemon, but it's just kind of lacking in that excellent speed, I will say. Um, yeah.
All good point. Uh, well, sometimes when you look at teams, then you say, I would never draft this team. This team's just weird. It's not one I'm comfortable with. Looking at this team, this is I don't love Excalibur, but like just the archetype that he built is definitely a team I could see myself drafting.
Yeah, that's fair.
Uh, yeah, so that's one of the reasons I was drawn towards it. But like, I just think he has his roles covered. I think he has kind of what I was talking about earlier in the video. He has two mons that can do everything. So like, you don't have to make Slow King your special wall every week. You could bring AV King Gambit and make Slow King offensive.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you can run offensive or defensive Donphan because you have enough other options. Yeah, just really one of the other things I really look for in a team is unpredictability. So like the hardest thing for me in draft league is when your opponent surprises you. They bring a set you weren't expecting. In my opinion, that's the fastest way a game can spiral out of control and you lose. Like this team is just really unpredictable in my opinion. So yeah, huge fan of it. Hope he does well. I'm rooting for this team.
I don't know if I'd say it's all that unpredictable. I think it can be unpredictable, but I think it's like with your example with Slowking and King Gambit. I'm just gonna say the Kings because yes. So with the Kings, I definitely agree that together they pair really well and that they can kind of trade roles with either defensive King Gambit, offensive King Gambit, AV King Gambit to take things off slow and he can go offensive. But at the same time, a lot of these Pokemon work very similarly. Diancie has a lot of versatility, yeah. But Excalibur almost always runs a very similar set. Donphan also often runs a very similar set. Thundurus usually, at least Thundy T anyway, usually runs a very offensive, standard, just hit hard, go fast kind of set. Even Chandelure and Quilladun is very stuck in its role of just being a bulky grass type. So I think its main options are for like versatility and unpredictability are the Kings and Diancie, which it's actually funny because Diancie's kind of a queen, so the royalty is the bigger issue.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I didn't notice that before. Yeah, he has a king and a queen on his team. Like maybe I should put this team one because of
that. He actually has two kings and a queen. We got a whole fucking harem over here.
Yeah, Slow King. Yeah, I missed that. Wow. Yeah, I like this team even more than I did before. But yeah, I don't disagree with you as far as move coverage goes. Like you know what these Pokemon have to offer. You know what type of coverage they're going to bring, but like sometimes items can influence roles. So for example, Chandelure, if you run Choice Scarf, then you're a Revenge Killer or late game sweeper. If you run Specs on it, then you're going to be breaking with it. Also, like if you run Scarf Chandelure, you could lead with it and be a crippler. Like you trick something going for rock, and then like you can Will-O-Wisp the switch in, you can Memento the switch in,
yeah,
you
okay,
can double switch because you know your opponent going to switch. Like, Chandler, based on what item you're giving him, then he's just, you don't know what type of Chandler you should prepare for.
Yeah, that's fair.
A breaker or a sweeper or a setup sweeper. Like, a lot of his Pokemon, while you know their coverage, based on what item he brings and based on EV spreads and stuff, like Baxcalibur, if you give him a choice band, he's a breaker, he's a hit and run Pokemon. You give him Sword Dance, then well, he's a breaker still. Dragon Dance, setup sweeper.
Yeah, I see your point.
Yeah, one last point with Baxcalibur. He's one of the Pokemon with over base 100 HP stat, which means that Seismic Toss does not break his sub. So, like, if you're going for moves like Seismic Toss or Nightshade or something, then, like, he's one of the tricky Pokemon like Tyranitar who get huge substitutes. So, like, that Pokemon can set up on a number of Pokemon in our league. Just
Yeah, no, I see your point.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
So,
once again,
not
you go.
I was just gonna say, it's not the most hard to prep for team. Like, if you have mixed attackers like Infernape, you really don't know what's coming. But it's still really good. Like, compared to everyone else in this league, this team is A tier when it comes to that.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. That's definitely the influence of Ziggy there, in my opinion. It's a very solid team. Anyway, good luck, Aiden. I'm not rooting for you yet, but good luck or something. Moving on to Celesteela. I helped her a little bit with this team. She came to me after she'd made, I think it was her first 4 picks, and we made the rest of the team for the most part. Yeah, I really want to know why you've got her at 15. Because look, when I'm like prepping for this team, or like I've skimmed over it anyway, and I can't see any major problems with it. Even in my cons like written down there, I actually couldn't think of any when I was working on this last night. I think it's just a very solid team. It's really fast. It's got good hazards, good removal, good type synergy. I think all around it's really solid. So I'm kind of curious as to why you've got it so low.
Okay, so I definitely could be wrong about this team too, but like the biggest reason, the initial reason is like, would I ever draft this team? The answer is no. This team is just very, very weird looking at it initially.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
So like my sweeper, who do I want to sweep in the late game? Sneasler is her sweeper. Its typing is fighting poison. Just like, that's not very good offensive typing in my opinion. Like, it's not the worst either, but it's just not great. So, like, that's just one small critique. I mean, so, like I said, I could be wrong, but my biggest critiques are that there's too many walls. So like normally when I build a team, I like to bring I like to bring 3 walls at most. So like physical wall, special wall,
mixed wall.
Mixed wall.
Yeah.
Unless you're drafting my team, which only has walls. Based on the points I was given, I'm gonna have to bring more than 3, but a normal matchup, I like to bring 3 walls. So like if you have 5 or 6 walls on your team and you're only bringing 3, like you're leaving 3 good Pokemon on your bench every week if you're building right.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely do see your point. Like Twing Lu, Rotom Wash, Orthworm, Dashbund, arguably Coalossal and Driftblim. Like I definitely see your point. Um, yeah, there's definitely some things that will have to be unfortunately left behind in some matchups that would be good otherwise, but you'd be sacrificing the offensive capabilities of your Pokemon for it. One thing I don't think I agree with you on is Sneasler's typing, because like dual stabs. I mean, because what resists poison? It's ground, rock, and steel, two of which are weak to fighting. What resists fighting? Well, uh, ghost and fairy and psychic, two of which are weak to poison. So usually, if you can get like dual stabs plus a dark coverage, you're usually pretty set. Yeah, you still can't really do much to a solid ground type, but that's what Walking Wake is there for. It can help deal with those Pokemon that you do struggle with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sneasler's also not a Pokemon I've used a lot,
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
this is just kind of theory crafting. But yeah, in my opinion, he hits a lot of things really well for neutral damage.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, in my opinion, like the good Pokemon, the ones you're going to be fighting in the late game, they're not going to be Pokemon that take super effective from poison or fighting, and so you're generally just going to hit them for neutral. And is that going to be enough to knock them out after a little bit of chip damage? The answer is I don't know.
I mean, with a 130 base attack plus poison from poison touch, and like gunk shot, or even hell dire claw, like you know poison from dire claw plus poison touch plus gunk plus just damage from 130 base stab. I definitely think like you've got a good chance of doing neutral Okos with gunk shot or poison plus rocks plus dire claw. You know what I mean? But also, you don't
Yeah.
really want to
Uh,
rely on gunk shot either, because accuracy. I also just found out it has toxic spikes, which is kind of scary. Well, not scary, but like annoying. It also does have SD, which is really nice. Honestly,
yeah.
SD
It's a
Focus
cool
Sash,
Pokemon.
SD Focus Sash could be a really cool set.
Yeah. Suicide Lead Breaker or something. Catch your
Yeah,
opponent off guard. Trade 2 for 1.
yeah, that
Yeah,
that, that would
that
be a
could be
pretty
really good.
nice. Well, there's an idea for you, Steela.
Yeah, I'm just in my mind, if I'm imagining an end game scenario where Sneasler as your final Pokemon against your opponent's final Pokemon, the odds of it having a ground type move that can knock out Sneasler, or a psychic type move that can knock out Sneasler, and Sneasler being able to knock out that Pokemon with one hit, uh, yeah. So, like I said, I could be wrong. I imagine Sneasler is like, well, I've used Weavile a lot. Weavile uh, can be useful in the end game, but most of the time I use it in the mid game as a breaker. Looking on this team, I just don't see any other sweepers, so you're going to be relying a lot on Sneasler. And
Walking Wake is a pretty
yeah,
reliable
we'll
sweeper.
see how it goes. Uh, we'll see, I guess.
I'm just saying,
Haven't used
photosynthesis.
Walking Wake a lot either.
Photosynthesis Walking Wake with the 125 special or 109 speed is really solid in my opinion. Plus good moves, it's got like Flamethrower, Dragon Pulse, Hydro Steam is its signature move, which is basically just Scold, which is nice. Um, doesn't have too much in terms of other coverage though, which is a little unfortunate. Um, basically just dual stabs plus Flamethrower, honestly. Yeah, that's a little unfortunate.
Okay. Yeah. At the end of the day, I guess we'll see. Like I said, willing to admit that I could be wrong on some of these teams, but it's what makes things interesting when two people disagree about whether something's good or not, and then you're able to kind of understand both perspectives.
Yeah, that's fair. Are you ready to move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we're up to our second last person in tie. I like how fast his team is. Basically, like over half his board is in the green in terms of speed tiers. I'm a big fan of Ogerpon as well. Glowking is a really annoying Pokemon that can, if you want it to do something, it can do it. If you want it to. It can be either used very specifically for like a super specific counter, or it can simply be used as a general get in, get out, do stuff kind of mon. Um, yeah, and same with kind of Great Tusk, where it's obviously a really good removal mon on with Rapid Spin, but just due to its stats, it can kind of do a little bit of everything that's not being a special. Well, even with AV, it can be a sort of special tank in my opinion. It's just kind of, yeah, it's great mon.
Good points. I got a little distracted, but yeah, I found my notes for
Okay.
this team. uh, Draft started out extremely strong. I had really high hopes that this was going to be one of the scariest teams in the league. But then towards the bottom, it kind of capped out. Uh, Overquill is an interesting Pokemon, like you're saying.
Sure.
I think it has potential. I'm not sure this is the right team for it personally, but I could be wrong. I still think this is a really strong team. As we mentioned with a few other teams, I think he has multiple Pokemon that can perform multiple roles. You're not relying on the same thing every week.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, the only Pokemon that rely on the same roles, in my opinion, are like Ogerpon and Manaphy and maybe Delphox. Other than that, most things can be run multiple different ways. Actually, even Ogerpon can be like used differently.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah, I think there's definitely room for some creative builds. So I'm looking forward to seeing some cool sets, catching the opponent off guard.
Yeah, Ty especially is really good at building unique teams, so I'm definitely excited to see what kind of crack he cooks up.
Yeah, same. Want to rank Ty higher. He asked for my advice during the draft, something I never mind giving. Like, it's always flattering. Someone respects your game enough that they want your opinion on something. Unfortunately, the advice I gave him was to go after Azu. Didn't work out because someone beat him to it or
Right,
something.
yes. So
I don't know exactly what happened.
both Ty and Rosa, like I was talking to both of them about like their picks for Grace, and they both wanted a Azumarill. So I kind of just made the executive decision. Yous both want it. I'm giving it to neither of yous, and yous can figure it out for yourselves. And in the end, Rosa ended up getting it for himself first, which was good for Rosa. Not so good for Ty though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Like, he'll be just fine without Azu, but like, in this type of build, I really think priority can like take this type of build over the top. So
Yeah, no, that's
maybe
fair.
maybe we'll see something as he gets ready to fight the top playoff teams. This is definitely making playoffs, though,
Oh
in my
yeah, there's no
opinion.
way it doesn't. Especially with Ty at the helm, him dropping from A this season, he definitely has a massive advantage over basically every player. I would be shocked if he doesn't make top 4.
Yeah, same.
All right. Moving on to our final team, we have Nosepass, our boy Nicholas. Um,
Uh, he's possibly the reason I'm in this video right now. I understand. He said, "Get Lance on here."
Yeah, he was the one who recommended you. I'm like, hey, I'm okay with Lance being here. He's a cool dude. He did really well last season. Let's see if he's interested.
Yeah, but
Speed
I would
tiers.
have ranked him 1 even without that. But yeah,
I'm pretty sure he
pass it
tied
on
for
to
first
you.
place in his first season in RCL. Actually, I think it was like a three-way
Oh.
tie for first place, or it was in like 1 or 2 diff each way kind of thing. It was a very close first seed race that season. Yeah, I've got him a little bit lower ranked just because I think with having Ty and Backrus down here, I think definitely hurts his chances of getting high scores. Just because they're, in my opinion, much better players. Otherwise he would probably be like second or third if it wasn't for them. I also think it's really interesting having slacking on a team because it's one kind of abusable, but also you never really like no one actually expects slacking to come. So I feel like if it ever does come, it's gonna do fuck shit up. Or it's also at the same time a kind of one where you need to prep for it. Kind of like Dugtrio, you need to prep for it. It doesn't even need to come to you, just need to prep for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely agree with you there. And even like opponent running protect on something to deal with slacking, like that's still one move slot they can't use for other coverage or stuff like that.
Exactly right. Having Glamora there is really nice for the Hadz's game as well as Goldango. Just kind of stops all removal, while he also has good removal in Dugtrio and Avalugg as well. So I think that definitely helps him out a lot. Having Rillaboom and Goldango and even Glamora on a team together also really helps because it will reduce Earthquake existences. Yeah, and also Avalugg is just a really good Pokemon in the B division, being able to just basically fully block any like physical attacker instantly almost is really nice for a team. Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you got on this
All
team?
good points. Okay, before I go into deep analysis mode, I'll tell you a story about Espeon.
Do
So, back when I started playing Pokemon competitively, I was playing Battle Spot singles, and like before that, I was playing Battle Tower against the computer when I was really young, and
I love it.
I thought I was good at Pokemon, and then I jumped into competitive, and I was getting my butt kicked on the Battle Spot.
Don't worry, same.
Event. Yeah, eventually I figured out what the heck I was doing. Had a lot of fun, learned how to team build. But one of the coolest strategies I came across when I was first playing was somebody set up screens with Rotom Wasp, and they went into bulk up, weakness policy, Blaziken, and then they baton passed all those boosts into Mega Kangaskhan and just ran through your team like crazy. So it is a bit of a gimmick strat, but it was good enough to get me to like top of the US multiple seasons when I tried it. They later refined the team for Stored Power Espeon.
Damn.
Because one of the ways you beat Kangaskhan Baton Pass is you whirlwind it out, you roar it out.
Yep.
Espeon with Magic Bounce, you can't make it leave. So then it Calm Mind, you give it a Key Berry, it stores power, just annihilates you. Anyway, I had so much fun on the Battle Spot multiple seasons, abusing Espeon and Mega Kangaskhan Baton Pass stuff. Really really helped me enjoy my time.
The good old
Eventually, I
days.
got good with a bunch of other stuff, but until that happened, I was doing really well with the gimmick strategy.
Gimmicks are fun.
But yeah, yeah, gimmicks. Any game, gimmicks are just so cool. Huge
Yeah,
fan
that's
of
definitely
gimmicks.
true. When we did the RCL VGC event, Iron Will Starmie ended up bringing a Smeargle and Power of Alchemy Muck plus a coaching Riolu as his main team, which
Okay,
which
yeah,
was,
that would be scary to deal with.
yeah, it was really hard to try and deal with. I think we got really
Yeah,
off topic, but oh well.
yeah. Jumping back into this team, Espeon's just a really interesting Pokemon. You can switch in block hazard, but you can also run like a physically defensive set. Like Espeon doesn't look like it's a good defensive wall, but actually its defenses are just usable. Its speed stat's so good that you can come in even with no speed, outspeed things. You can run max defense Keyberry and just easily set up Calm Minds and sweep teams. Uh, Espeon's just a really interesting Pokemon. Underexplored in a lot of leagues, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that sounds fair.
But
I was actually thinking of increasing its points because looking over it, it's actually like really fucking good. The only thing it's lacking in is a way to hurt steals. But honestly, if you go Terra Ground, Terra Fire, whatever, I think it'd be pretty solid, honestly.
yeah, I'm definitely with you there.
Um,
In addition, he has grassy terrain. Grassy terrain is really underexplored in my opinion. It changes damage calc so much. So when you're prepping for, I need this much chip damage to get on my opponent's team in order to win with whatever, like grassy terrain just can really spiral games out of control if so yeah, in my opinion, grassy terrain just like you have to roll with the punches. Like you can't do too much prepping or your prepping's just not gonna help you. Uh but yeah, he drafted grassy terrain. He drafted Pokemon who benefit enormously from grassy terrain. He has trappers, he has setup sweepers, he has breakers, like yeah, just really huge fan of this team.
yep. I absolutely agree. I think it's gonna be very good. I've also looked over his schedule briefly, and he seems to have a really good schedule. So I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up going more closer to your score than to mine. um, yeah, I don't think I have anything else to add.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, enjoyed commentating with you. Thanks for running this league. I think everyone's gonna look forward to watching your videos.
Yeah, I hope so. I wonder how many people will watch it, considering it's 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, at worst they'll jump to the point of the video that covers their team, but like if they like the commentary, I think they'll stick around for some more too.
Yeah, probably.
Keep me posted average watch time of this video so I'll know if they like my commentary or not.
Well, I definitely did. You definitely had a lot of good insight. It's definitely good to get people that are better than me to help me out with these, because there's some things that I definitely think I overlook sometimes. But yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah, appreciate it.
thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe on your way out, and I'll see you dudes in the next video. Bye bye.
See you guys.